Again so soon, Michael. And what's the reason now? Did I not blow daughter's nose the right way? Did she not get her insulin at the exact millisecond? And you wanted her to. You do not need to contact me just because you were served. You have my attorney's information. Oh, I sure do. And she will be hearing from my attorney. Don't you worry about that. He is going to handle all of this once and for all. I don't know how you managed to get a court date for a literal week from now. But he will make sure it's pushed. But don't you worry, now that I have my attorney, this will be handled correctly. I will get the kids back with me like they want to be. And I will ensure that you are responsible to covering my legal fees for dragging me back to court. For bullshit reasons. Please contact my attorney for any additional information regarding the hearing. Michael, just reaching out to let you know that Helen did in fact retain an attorney. He has put in a request for a continuance since court is scheduled in 4 days, and the judge granted it. He only managed to push the hearing back another week though, which does not give him much time. And there isn't any evidence he could present showing that the children would be better in their mother's care. Do you think we have a chance to get her reduced to supervised visits? That really depends on the judge. It depends on if they see Helen's medical neglect of daughter's diabetes as proof of imminent danger to the children. We will fight for that. As I agree it is in their best interest, but I can't give you any guarantees. But you don't think she will get more time, right? I see no reason for a judge to grant her more time, but like I said, it all depends on the judge. Is now in session to determine the custody schedule of the children of Helen and Michael Blank. Currently, the father has primary custody and the mother receives every other weekend visitation. Your Honor, my client, Michael Blank, is requesting to amend the current custody order to place the mother on supervised visitation for the protection of the children. What reason does your client have to believe that the children are not safe in the care of their mother every other weekend? Your Honor, despite numerous attempts at conveying the importance of keeping daughter in range, the mother continues to fail to even make an attempt at caring for daughter's diabetes. Daughter is continuously dangerously out of a healthy range, despite having a Dexcom and Omnipod. There are no attempts by the mother to control spikes. And insulin is not given until numbers spike over 200. Uncontrolled juvenile diabetes is not a game. This can and will cause life. Client has submitted records from the past few months of visitations with the mother. During these visits, the mother has only kept daughter in range on average of 40% of the time. This is no longer a new diagnosis. There is no more learning curve excuse. This continues to show that the mother does not value the child's health. She is not willing to put in the effort that is required when you have a child with extenuating health care requirements. Any attempt at communication with the mother about proper nutrition and diabetic care has been met with contempt and hostility. If the mother still refuses to simply administer medication and watch what the child eats for 2 days every 2 weeks, what gives her the right to ask for more time? Your Honor, this is simply untrue. I have evidence here of the mother keeping daughter in range over 70% of the time. Clearly, she is trying to handle her child's situation. Client is asking to revert to the original custody agreement, in which she retains primary custody and the father resumes every other weekend visitation. He has been allowed to bully and harass my client over a disease out of her control for too long. And it needs to be ended. Very well, we will begin with calling witnesses to the stand. As the father is the petitioner, I will allow his representation to begin. Thank you, Your Honor. To begin, we would like to call Helen to the stand. Could you state your name for the court and your relationship to the children? My name is Helen Blank, and I am the mother to the children named. When your daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, quite a while ago I might add, were you given any education on how to properly care for her? Of course I was. Myself, my husband, and my ex were both trained at the hospital. His wife was trained on a later date. She continued to receive further education and training on how to handle her care as well as how to properly use the medical equipment. Of course I have. I value nothing more than my children's health. Can you explain to me why you do not administer insulin until after daughter is already spiked out of her normal range? I follow the plan that we originally received from her endocrinologist. He advised us that we could adjust the plan if we are comfortable doing so. And I am not. I am not a doctor. So you are in the belief that daughter is properly cared for during your parenting time, and that the highs and lows she alternates in your time are normal and safe? Overall, yes, granted, she does occasionally go to high or to low, but we correct this and keep moving. But the doctor told us that her numbers are going to fluctuate, and I will do my best to allow her to be a child for as long as possible. And do you believe that daughter's numbers are vastly different while in the care of her father? If it is normal to fluctuate as much as she does with you, why is it only during your time? Because her father and his wife overdose my child on insulin and restrict her from eating anything that a child would actually enjoy. They self-prescribed basically an eating disorder for a young child to feel like they are winning at diabetes. I am not willing to do that to her. I see if they were overdosing her on insulin, would that not bottom her numbers out? She would consistently be extremely low, wouldn't she be? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but she deserves to have a childhood and not to track everything she puts in her mouth. Last question. Why is it that you have missed the last 3 appointments daughter has had with her endocrinologist to review numbers and receive trainings? I've been busy. He wants to be the primary parent. Please state your name to the court for me. My name is Michael Blank, and I am the father of both children. Thank you, Michael. Can you explain to me how you are able to keep daughter's numbers in range appropriately 85% of the time? Of course, we monitor her readings closely throughout the day. Both my wife and I have alerts sent to our phones in case daughter spikes high or low so we can take action. We also do track what she eats and drinks and give insulin as needed depending on the carb count. I wouldn't say we are giving her an eating disorder though. She is able to eat everything in moderation. We just need to correct her sugars if it will cause a spike. Why do you believe that daughter is out of range consistently at her mother's house? To put it simply, I do not believe that Helen is willing to put forth the effort that is required to handle a disease such as type 1. And daughter is not old enough. Helen has refused to accept the severity of daughter's medical condition since the beginning. It was brushed off by last doctors and judges and blamed on a learning curve. But there have been no attempts to improve. Her attorney stated that she keeps daughter's range in the mid-70s. Is that not correct? In the past 6 months, my daughter has only been in range one day at over a 70%. There is a very clear pattern in daughter's numbers spiking drastically every other Friday night and hour after exchange, and her numbers settling back into range Sunday evenings when she is returned. And we have not even discussed the neglect that son has gone through in her care, lack of medical treatment for his dental health, shoes so tight his feet are torn apart, failing to feed both children during visits. She not only fails to attempt to care for daughter's severe medical condition, but she fails to give basic care to either child. These children should not have to continue to suffer due to their mother's shortcomings. For a mother who claims to care so deeply and tries so hard to ensure the health and safety of the children, she has a strange way of showing it when she fails to attend either children's medical appointments or school appointments. Did she offer any reasonings behind not attending? According to her texts, she has had 3 different flat tires, 2 illnesses, and 1 she just never acknowledged. So what are you hoping to achieve by asking the courts for supervised visits? I don't want to keep the children from their mother, but they need to be safe. If the courts are willing to grant supervised visits, I believe that it will be in the best interest of both the children and their mother. It will allow the children to safely spend time with their mother and keep their relationship intact. and give their mother the time and motivation to educate herself on proper diabetic care and basic child care. After looking at the documentation and evidence submitted by both parties, I find that there is not enough evidence that would justify placing the mother on supervised visitations. As of this moment, visitation will remain the same. I will say though, if the mother does not get her household in order, and quickly, there will be major consequences, ma'am. If you do not get your numbers looking more like the numbers from Dad's time, this court will do what it needs to do to keep the children safe. I promise you this, if I see you back in this courtroom over this again, your relationship with your children will look drastically different than it does right now. Your Honor, the children are safe and loved with their mother. It's clear that the father has used the justice system to harass his ex. Counselor, whatever your client believes she is doing is not working, and I will not sugarcoat it for her. Is dealing with issues of pride, she needs to get over it and ask the father's household for their tips on how they manage daughter's diabetes. It's time for the adults to grow up and put the children first. Daughter's numbers are low at the father's home because they double stack her insulin. This is extremely dangerous and could possibly cause the mother to have issues controlling numbers during her time. Looking at the evidence, it is clear that the child requires more insulin at the mother's home than at the father's, so help me God. If I hear the phrase double stacking again in this courtroom from anyone besides a medical expert, I will throw the fool out of my courtroom. The court rules that the custody schedule will remain in effect once school begins. The court orders that we reconvene so that I can hear from the children's teachers and school nurse about her care. Custody will be reconsidered after that meeting. Court is now dismissed.